The doors to the Viridian Tea House are open once more. Hello everyone, it's another video. I have a trifecta of books to review today and a wonderful tea that I didn't even know that I had. So I've got a lot to talk about, but before I begin, I do want to give a shout out to Stanley Marketplace. If you've been following me on social media, you'll know that every Saturday has been a full day of events at Stanley Marketplace in Aurora. And I've been selling my tea and my books there, and I've had some great times, great conversations, good sales, just all thumbs up all around. There, I will be attending one more of the Saturday events, and then I'm actually doing another event the last Saturday in February. So if you live in the Denver area, or you live in Aurora, or you're in town for the weekend, come on by. It's Stanley Marketplace. The vendors are there from 10 until 2, and then there's music and dancing from 3 to 5, and then there's something else going on from 5 till 7. But if you're in the area this coming Saturday, please stop by. Like I said, I'll have my tea and my books there, and it's just a really good time. And I'm happy to be a part of the Black History Month event with Stanley Marketplace. So if those of you at Stanley Marketplace are watching this, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It's been great. Let's see what else. Oh, yes. So for those of you, again, who follow me on social media, if you remember years ago, I used to have an online creative journal called Violet Windows, where there was no theme. You just submitted whatever you wanted to submit. So I did that for a couple of rounds, and then due to just outside interests and my goals were shifting and changing, I decided to stop it. Well, then years later, I had access to Amazon KDP, and I thought, I think it would be a really good idea to turn this into a book. So it's been 6 or 7 months, but finally, Violet Windows, a collection, is now available through Amazon. And actually, in my next week's video, I'm going to review the Violet Windows book. And there's also a tea blend, which I need to put it on Etsy. I keep forgetting to do that. But yes, so featuring works of Nicole Kurtz, James Weekly, J.W. Bullard, Ralston Hunsinger, Cheryl Ferrens, Sherry Wright, Robert Krogh, and a whole bunch of others. Violet Windows, a collection, is the book to get for the person who likes a little bit of everything, and when it comes to what they're interested in reading. And like I said, there is a tea blend as well, and I will be reviewing both the book and the tea blend next week. So stay tuned, folks. All right, so let's begin with the books, because like I said, I got 3 of them today. So the first one, this is one of those where I'm like, yeah, I've had this for how long and I haven't read it. It's about time to change that. Peridot by Tyree Campbell. So I'll just read the back of it for you. Who is Peridot? I'm saying it the French way. I never really knew how to pronounce it. So Tyree, if I'm saying it incorrectly, I'm sorry. She's a young American woman named Risha Ryder, stranded in France, and she has more problems than any superheroine should have to deal with. On a tour of southern France, Risha, it was short for Patricia, Risha was robbed out of her papers and her money and was compelled to live off the grid. An ancient Celtic goddess gave Risha succor and superpowers. Eventually, Risha took up with a young woman reporter who subtly hits on her, thus far without success, and whose job it is to expose Peridot's activities to France's viewing audience. Risha herself is attracted to a gendarme who would arrest her immediately for violation of the National Treasures and Antiquities laws, should he learn that she sells precious French artifacts under the table. She's been tasked with helping people and with fulfilling a mysterious agenda whose end game could well result in the torture and death of those around her. And the goddess who empowered her to become Peridot is insane. Now that makes a lot more sense. But yes, so this is the first book in the series, and it's three Against the Mob. And I actually purchased this back in 2016, and I reached out to Tyree and I said, you know, I'm so sorry that I waited so long to read this book, but I made a realization that a lot of the books in my library I've not read yet, because I was like, oh yeah, you know, I want to buy this, and then I put it to the side and I'm reading something else. It's really been a lot of fun just coming back to my books and saying, you know, I really want to read this. What is this one all about? And then going, oh my God, I want all 20 books in this series. So that's how I feel about this book. I love the characters. I love Risha turning into Perlido. À la verte, that's right. À la verte when she becomes the superhero, and à la blanc when she changes back into herself. I do kind of like the flirting frustrations between Stephanie and Risha. It's kind of like, will they, won't they? I'm not sure. I think so. Yeah. I really hope so. I hope that they get together and become a couple. But I love the story. I love the action. It's fast paced. If you're looking for a French superheroine who is being guided by an insane Celtic goddess, you cannot go wrong with this book. You really can't. And actually, I read this yesterday on my day off within like an hour. And I was like, yeah, I feel terrible for not reading this sooner. So for Tyree Campbell's Perlido, Episode 1, 3 Against the Mob, get a good picture of that. It gets Viridian Tea House's 4 pots of tea. I'm looking forward to reading the other books. Cannot wait, cannot wait. But it's, like I said, it's action, suspense, dealing with antiquities, black market, some lesbian romance, and above all, a green-skinned woman who is fighting for justice in France. You cannot go wrong with this novella. Highly, highly recommended. All right, so the next book actually came to me while taking my Judaism class. For those of you who don't know, I've been on this path of converting to Judaism. I'm known as a Jew by choice, of Reform Judaism. And Temple Israel back in Memphis has these courses, or it's a course called, I think it's Exploring Judaism, or it's something Judaism, but it answers all your questions, and it basically breaks down Reform Judaism, or just Judaism in general, so that it's more understandable and obtainable. And so far the classes have been wonderful. This is actually my second time taking it, so it's really nice to kind of get this refresher course. But I think it was Rabbi Dreyfus was talking about a particular rabbi known as the Adventure Rabbi, and I was like, okay, I have to look her up. And she actually lives in Boulder, not too far from where I live. And I saw one of her books and I said, I really want to read this, and my boyfriend got it for me for my birthday, and it is called God in the Wilderness. Get rid of that glare, sorry about that. And it's by Rabbi Jamie S. Korngold. So let me read the back of it for you. Rabbi Jamie Korngold has always loved the outdoors, the place where humankind first met with God. Whether it's mountaineering, running ultra marathons, or just sitting by a stream, she finds her spirituality and Judaism thrive most in the wilderness. In her work as the Adventure Rabbi, leading groups towards spiritual fulfillment in nature, Korngold has uncovered the rich traditions and lessons God taught our ancestors in the wild. In God in the Wilderness, Korngold uses rabbinic wisdom and witty insights to guide readers through the Bible, showing people of all faiths that despite the hectic pace of life today, it is vital for us to reclaim these lessons, awaken our inner spirituality, and find meaning, tranquility, and purpose in our lives. Just a little bit. She is a Reformed Jewish rabbi. She started the Adventure Rabbi program in 2001 and has become nationally known for her pioneering work integrating spirituality with the outdoors. She was ordained at Hebrew Union College. She lives in Boulder, Colorado with her husband and 2 daughters. In reading the first chapter, I ran to my boyfriend in his office and I was just jumping up and down because this book resonated with me. I'm very much an outdoorsy person. I've never done ultra marathons, but I do enjoy, some Shinrin-yoku, taking the trails through the forest, or walking by a lake or a stream, or just what have you. But I love being outdoors, especially when it's a nice temperature outside and the sun is beaming down. And even sometimes I like to walk through a forest when it's raining. But this book resonated with me because she brings up ideas that are so kind of common sense. You're like, why didn't people think of this before? Like dealing with taking a day off. No, really, take a day off and to enjoy not only a chance to recharge and reset, but to spend time with people that you care about, or spend time by yourself. But above everything else, be outdoors. And then also, what was it? The story regarding the parting of the Red Sea. It was a very interesting correlation between the parting of the Red Sea and how that happened and her life journey. But I won't go into too much detail. I was showing this off to a couple of my friends saying, no, really, you really need to read this book because, like, for me, it made me realize that, yes, being self-employed, being the owner of a small business, being a published author, I'm running all over the place. But it's also good to slow down and take some time to breathe and to go outside. In fact, I had a few minutes of a break before I went on my usual walk. And so I went outside to our backyard and I just soaked in some vitamin D, and just listened to the sounds of the neighborhood around me. But it was a very calming experience. And for the record, I do take days off because I think that we do need them. We do need those moments to pause and reflect and say, okay, why am I feeling so tired all the time? Do I need to go outside? Do I need to hydrate? Do I need to? So yeah, this book was a nice kick in my butt, pretty much. But I am truly grateful that Rabbi Dreyfus back at Temple Israel had mentioned the Adventure Rabbi, and I'm so glad that I was able to read this book. So for God in the Wilderness by Rabbi Jamie S. Korngold, it receives Viridian tea houses, 4 pots of tea. I'm probably rambling about this book, but have you ever just read a book where you're reading it and you're suddenly reaching for a pencil or a pen and you're either underlining passages or you're writing them down in your journal because they really are making a difference inside. And this was just a nice little tweak and a nice moment to reflect. And Rabbi, if you're watching this video, thank you so much. Thank you. And I would love to come up to Boulder and just meet you one day over some tea, honestly. But thank you for this book, God in the Wilderness by Rabbi Jamie S. Korngold. And you don't even have to be Jewish. You really don't. It's a message for anyone. Anyone who just needs to take a break and just who wants to get outside or is already outside and just, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean? So anyway, yes, thank you so much for this book. Thank you. Okay, so the third book I'm talking about today is fiction, and this is by another author I've been wanting to read. And what's interesting is that I started the book and then I kind of put it down because I was like, I'm not really getting into this, whatever. And yet something inside of me was like, no, why don't you go back and read this book? go back and read it. And I'm so glad that I did. Another shout out to the Arapaho Library System. You guys are awesome. And this is Tatiana de Rosnay, Flowers of Darkness. Sorry about that glare, but Flowers of Darkness. It's funny. I actually saw a copy of this book at a used book sale with Denver Public Library. And I kept telling myself, you better get that, you better get that. And I was actually volunteering at the time, and a customer bought the book. And I was like, I really wanted to get that book. And she's like, oh, well, you can have it. I'm like, no worries on that. You enjoy it. So in going to my local library through Arapaho, I saw this and I was like, oh, funny how that works out. So let me read the inside of the dust jacket for you. In a near future Paris, author Clarissa Katseff is struggling to write her next book. She's just snagged a brand new artist residency in an ultra-modern apartment with a view, a dream for any novelist in search of tranquility. But since moving in, Clarissa has had the feeling of being watched. Is there reason to be paranoid? Or is her distraction and discomfort the result of her husband's shocking recent betrayal? Or is it that her beloved Paris lies altered outside her windows, a city that will never quite be the same, a city with a terrible scar at its center? Stuck inside in the midst of a sweltering heat wave, Clarissa enlists her beloved granddaughter in her investigation of the mysterious high-tech building, even as she finds herself drawn back into the orbit of her first husband, the one who knows her most intimately, who shares the past grief that she has never quite overcome. So somebody on Goodreads did a review of this book, and they put in trigger warning. This deals with suicide and depression. And I'm going to reiterate that too. If you are triggered by books that deal with suicide and depression, I really wouldn't recommend this book, because it's through Clarissa, I was trying to get my words right. Through Clarissa, you learn about some of her favorite authors and how they suffered with depression and ultimately took their own lives, And you kind of sort of see Clarissa edging toward that same future. But then because of her own chutzpah, she redirects her course, and because of that, it's almost like she gets a new leash on life. Not leash, duh. But I really, really enjoyed reading this book, because you are right there with Clarissa as you're trying to figure out, is she being watched? Is she just paranoid? What is up with her virtual assistant, which, by the way, is named Mrs. Dalloway for all you Virginia Woolf fans? What's the shocking secret about her husband, her second husband, regarding his betrayal? I'll admit, when I found out, I was like, I'm not really sure to be angry at him or not. I'm still kind of unsure, but I like how in the end, it's not a neat ending, but you can see, it's almost like you can kind of come up with your own ending, but it's satisfactory enough to where you can close the book and go, okay, I don't have to worry about Clarissa. Because a couple of times I was kind of worried about her. I really was, just her somewhat spiral or downward spiral. But it's interesting how Tatiana deals with the relationship between Clarissa and her first husband, Toby, and Clarissa with her second husband, Francois. It's really, really different. And yet, through all of this, she ends up finding the peace that she needs through her first husband. I hope I didn't spoil it, but this was, and also too, near future Paris. So what she did was she had the Eiffel Tower to be destroyed, to be like 9/11 almost in a way. And, you know, it just kind of got me thinking. I was like, wow, what would that be like? But it was a little bit scary, a little bit, you know, close to biting my nails, but overall, it was a beautiful story. And even dealing with the paranoia and who can you trust and people disappearing and people reappearing. And then the one day where there's the incredibly high temperatures in Paris, it overall made for an excellent read. And I will be looking for her other books as well through our library system here in Colorado. So for Flowers of Darkness by Tatiana de Rosnay, this receives Viridian Tea Houses 4 pots of tea. Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup. Darkly beautiful, disturbing, with hints of redemption. And in the end, you can breathe because it's going to be okay. That was essentially my takeaway with Flowers of Darkness. So thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to get to the tea portion. How much time do I have? Oh, yeah, we're still good. So the tea that I'm reviewing today is through Upton Tea Imports in Massachusetts. And I am drinking a Shangri-La White Tea. Origin is India. So I've talked about this before in other videos, but I'll bring it up again. So I always thought for the longest time that because white tea was the least processed of all teas, that it had the least amount of caffeine. I was very wrong. Actually, because it's the least processed, it has a greater amount of caffeine than a lot of people think it does. Because, you know, and now that I think about it, like I love certain white teas, but I always wondered why I had a lot more energy. And I thought, oh, well, you know, I'm just happy and high on life. No, because with white tea, there is more caffeine. So, but yeah, this particular one, like I said, origin is in India. And when I did brew it, they do state to let it steep for 2 to 3 minutes at 180 degrees. Well, I actually kind of did 3 minutes and 33 seconds because I'm weird like that. But the scent of the tea was quite nice. And so without further ado, for the first time, trying Upton Tea Imports Shangri-La White Tea from India. It is a very delicate tea. It's quite delicate. Like you can tell there's hardly been any processing in it. The mouthfeel, quite nice, quite velvety. It has a very distinct tea taste to it. This is something that I could drink all year round, honestly. And this has been sitting for a while, so the temperature's gone down quite a bit, but this is something that I could enjoy both hot and iced. Yeah, definitely. Now, here's the thing. I don't really like a lot of sweetener in my tea. This, I kind of would like to try it with sweetener because right now on its own, this is a beautiful cup of tea. But I kind of would like to try it with some honey. Not so much sugar, but definitely honey. Maybe like a wildflower honey or orange blossom honey. I wonder if that would actually bring out more of the notes of the white tea. That's a, you know, it almost reminds me in taste of a Darjeeling. That's interesting. I do like this a lot. That's actually quite good. So once again, this is Upton Tea Imports in Massachusetts, and this is Shangri-La White Tea, Origin India. And I'll put all their information up on the video once this has been uploaded. This is excellent. If anyone from Upton is watching this video, this is a beautiful bouquet. This is quite nice. I'm so glad that I'm reviewing this tea today. This is good. And you know, for the record, for you tea lovers out there who are trying to find new companies to explore with your tea palette, Upton Tea Imports, Upton Tea Imports, got a little too fast there. If you sign on to their newsletter or catalog, you receive a catalog 4 times a year, and it is literally a catalog. But here's the thing though, you kind of want to read it like a book, because not only do they have a plethora of teas to choose from, they also have a little bit of tea history too. Let's see, they talked about the one Scottish gentleman who was partially responsible for bringing tea to England, but just other little stories regarding the industry of tea. So if you find yourself trying to look for a new tea company, Upton Tea Imports, you cannot go wrong. You really cannot. Every time I've ordered from them, I've not been disappointed at all. All right, so before we wrap up, let's do our tea or water meditation. If you are new to this, welcome. Basically, what we do is make sure you have a cup of some of your favorite tea or water nearby. Find yourself in a comfortable position. You can either be sitting down, laying down, or standing up. We're going to take 2 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then you can either close your eyes or you can softly focus on an object in front of you. We're just going to focus on our breathing. That's all. No thinking of any kind of mantra or any kind of vision. You just focus on your breathing. Now, here's the thing. Your mind's going to wander. It just happens. When you catch yourself doing that, just pause, say to yourself, thinking, and then resume breathing. We're going to breathe for, I really can't talk today. We're going to breathe for a number of counts, and then we'll end with another deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then you can bring your eyes back into focus, or you can open your eyes and then have a sip of your tea or your water. So without further ado, let's begin. And now, as we end this meditation, take 1 deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly open your eyes, or allow your eyes to come into focus, and enjoy a sip of your tea or your water. This really tastes like a Darjeeling. I'm sorry. I'm never going to let this go. Well, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching these silly little videos of mine. And also, much thanks again to Tatiana de Rosnay. Get rid of that glare. And also Rabbi Jamie S. Korngold. and also Tyree Campbell. Thank you so much for these wonderful books. I enjoyed reading all of them. And also, thanks again to Upton Tea Imports for their Shangri-La White Tea. Thank you so much, guys. Excellent, excellent tea. So, until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Raise your teacup high, and remember, to drink tea is to enjoy life. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.